is a bit of a tangent and a side note, but something that struck me, I don't think, and I'm guilty of this, what infects a lot of big tech CEOs is that they don't understand the vulnerabilities of certain special interest groups because they've never been victims themselves. They're mostly white dudes who have grown up in wealthy households. And I'm guilty of this. I remember during COVID, I was walking with my sister, and she jumped out of her skin when a homeless person kind of stirred and crossed the street. And I said, that was a bit of an overreaction. She said, Scott, you're 6'2", 190, easy for you to say. And it dawned on me that men live in a different world. And that has really come to bear or front and center for me recently. One, tracking some of the comments you get. And also, someone left a voicemail, and Kara, uh,
Mm.
who's unafraid, played the voicemail on Pivot. And it was so angry and vile. And I said to her, I said, I know I have just as many people who don't agree with my views as don't agree with yours. I never get those voicemails. And there's also, to some of your comments, the really vile ones, there's a twinge of threat, of violence, and just plain misogyny that men don't have to put up with. And by the way, I'm someone who believes that if you're a true feminist, and we'll know when we have equality, when you're subject to the same bullshit that we're subject to, I think that's what equality is. But what I would suggest to a lot of young men is to recognize what I did not recognize. And that is, there is an unfortunate thin, it's not even a vein, but it's a thin avenue, a river of people, especially men, who are more comfortable saying really vile, borderline, threatening violence statements to women than they do to men. And some of the comments I've seen in your feed and some of the comments I see in Kara's feed and some of the feedback she gets, there's a twinge of, bitch, be careful, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
And men just do not receive that bullshit. And to recognize, if you are a young man, that you have to force yourself to have more empathy and turn the volume down and acquit yourself with more grace. Because unfortunately, there is a large vein of people, especially men, and also some women. The woman who left this vile misogyny is not sequestered to just men, but to recognize, all right, would these statements fly, or is there an unhealthy vein of threat here because the target, has indoor plumbing? But I have finally recognized that. It's like, I know we'll get comments of like, well, welcome to our world, Scott. But long-winded way of saying young men, I think, need to realize that you live around these things, around threat, in a different world than women face. All right, my virtue signaling TED talk is over.
I liked it, and it's true, and it's, especially once you become a mom and you are responsible for protecting these little people, you have a heightened awareness for the level of threat. Obviously, I'm in a particular profession that brings it on, more, but you're, mama bearing all the time, and Kara is bolder than I am. I get really freaked out and very upset with the new administration of Twitter because also when you put in the report of threats, which seem quite obvious, sometimes they'll write back and say, "Oh, it doesn't meet our standards for that." And you're like, "What are your fucking standards if not like you deserve to die?"
There you go.